Welcome to Bari Banter, where we talk everything bariatric surgery with the people that know it best, the patients. I'm Shannon, and I'm here with my co-hostess with the mostest,
Lita. So sit back, relax, and remember, sip, sip, sip.
Hey Lee, week 12.
Week 12. I just got really excited listening to that intro just then. I don't know why.
I had it a little bit louder than usual.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like,
Yes.
get in the groove. Well, tell me, what's been the thing you're enjoying the most about the whole podcast thing?
I really enjoy that everybody is just so different. And when they come on, like people just let loose. Meaning like they just go, it's almost like word vomit. And they just tell like the ultimate truths.
Ultimate truth. Yeah, because two people have said that now where they're like, it's almost like therapy.
Yeah.
And I really like that. I think that's really healthy for people to be able to just sit down and just talk and, vent and put it all out there.
But everybody's super nervous before they come on. But then by the end of the session, they're like, oh, that wasn't too bad.
That wasn't too bad. Yeah, by the end of it, you're kind of like, I could do that again now. I enjoy it. And I enjoy, because obviously I do all the audio and sit down and do all the edits and stuff like that. I'm actually really enjoying that process because, anyone that watches the video will see that I've kind of started getting a little playful with it. And I've been putting, little funny,
memes,
just trying to... And I do that mainly because I want to watch them because it's it takes a while to edit it. So I just like to bring videos up and be like, oh, that's funny. So I'm going to put a video right here on the YouTube one. Just of something random, probably a cat or something. Let's do that. But yeah, we went from one amazing human last week to another amazing human this week. She's pretty incredible, so I'm excited to actually chat to her.
She's like a mother figure to me. I
was gonna say that, and I'll probably save it till we actually get her up on screen.
Okay.
But yeah, there's something in relation to that because she definitely is the mother goose.
All right. Well, before we give it away,
Yeah.
then I'll introduce her. Otherwise, we'll just continue talking about her like she's not here. But so our guest tonight was bypassed in 2016 with a weight loss at close to 50 kilos. Our guest tonight hasn't had the smoothest road over the last 4 years. From being wheelchair bound in the early stages to plastics, mental health issues, and a little bit of rebound, our guest tonight, in her own words, is strong, brave, and resilient. Please welcome our good friend Sandra Harris, also known as Chunky Chicken, on Instagram.
Hello, lovely. How are you?
Hello. How are you?
Yeah, speaking of, because obviously Chunky Chicken is your name on Instagram, and I was thinking about this on my ride home today. Obviously, we've got Bariatric Dad, which is Terry. And he's the dad figure. He doesn't have to always say the words. You just know he's always going to be there. And I feel like we almost need to change you to Bariatric Mama or something. Because you are the mum. You're always there for the people who need it. That's one thing I noticed about you. You are an incredible human where you don't have a bad bone in your body. If someone needs to talk, you're always there. You are that, I know personally, I've chatted to you a few times and you've helped me out. So I feel like, you definitely need to maybe look at maybe changing it to
Barry Mama.
Barry Mama.
Possibly.
I know we're going to start this off on a very a shaky subject. I know you shouldn't ask a lady her age, but Sandra, how old were you when you had bariatric surgery?
Gosh, how old am I now? I'm 47 now.
47
and
now?
I had it in 2016, so I was
43?
43.
Can I do math? 43?
Yeah, 47,
43.
Carry the 1, carry the 3. I think you're right. That's good.
So 43. So was weight something that you've struggled with from an early age? Were you a child that was slightly overweight, or is this something that kind of came on sort of later in life?
I started to struggle when I was going to puberty, mainly at high school. I stacked on a little bit of weight. I was always bigger than the other people.
Yeah.
Never huge, not I wouldn't consider myself to be obese. I was probably a size 12 in normal terms, but all the other girls were size 8 or 6s.
Yeah.
So to them I was fat and I was the fat one. But yeah, probably after that, I got pregnant quite early. I was pregnant when I was 19 with my daughter, who's now 27. So after that, I probably stacked on the weight even more. And then the reason I put on most of my weight was because in 2010, I had a workplace injury where I injured my back. And from there, I was basically I just went downhill. I just couldn't walk and couldn't exercise, couldn't couldn't really get out of bed most days. And that's when the weight stacked on up to 40 kilos, I think I put on then.
Yeah, mobility definitely makes a difference to the whole thing, that's for sure. Do you only have the one daughter?
Just one, yep.
One daughter. So did you ever before look into weight loss surgery, or was this the first time you looked into it and just went down it, or had you looked into it previously?
I had never looked into it before. I hadn't even heard of it, to be honest. When I did look into it, I think was probably I was talking to one of my work cover doctors, and he was actually saying that work cover could possibly cover the operation for me, because it is a thing that has happened since I've put on weight because of my I had failed back surgery in 2010, and after the surgery, I just continued to put more weight on because the surgery failed. So then by the time I got to 2016, I was just like 40 kilos heavier, and I'm like, I just can't do this. And one of my pain management specialists actually mentioned it to me, and that's when I started looking into it. So pretty much got insurance, and within a year I'd organised it myself because work cover was refusing to pay for it. So
I was going to say, could you get work cover to pay for it? But no, you ended up having to get insurance and do it yourself. Yep.
Yeah, I did it myself.
Yeah.
And so by that time I was pretty much wheelchair bound. I didn't know it at the time. I went to Thailand January, just before I had it in May. And so in that January I went to Thailand for a holiday, and I didn't realise at the time, but I was in so much pain and my feet were swelling and I could barely walk and I couldn't enjoy myself. I was at my highest weight then, which was 143, I think. Basically, I came home to more tests to find out that I needed a hip replacement, and that's when I ended up in a wheelchair. So,
wow.
Yeah.
And so what was it that made you decide to get a bypass rather than the sleeve?
It was what my bariatric surgeon suggested for me, because I also had type 2 diabetes, and it's something to do with the way the amount of intestine they take out, that absorbs the sugar. So it helps with reversing diabetes.
Were you insulin dependent?
No, I wasn't. I was all diet controlled, but I was on tablets, metformin, I think they're called.
Yep.
Just one tablet a day, and then diet controlled. And yeah, so basically I had the bypass, and within 3 months I was in remission and didn't have a diabetes anymore. So
that's amazing. 3 months.
One, isn't it?
So did you, you were taking your tablet once a day? Did you stop taking your tablet, your metformin tablet for your diabetes? Did you stop taking your tablet the day of surgery, and then you never took it again? Never again. No. That's
and then
crazy.
the very first blood test I had ended up being total remission. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really cool.
What is that? Is that
one of the reasons why I decided to have this also? Is because my dad died very young. He died at 53 of a massive heart attack, and he battled weight issues, yo-yo dieting. He would be big one minute, skinny the next. So he had really bad heart disease, and he just passed away one day very suddenly. So I just said to myself, I've got a daughter. I've got to be here for her. So I've got to do it for me. I've got to make myself better. Yeah. So I want to be around for her. Yeah.
So was your daughter one of the driving factors then for you having surgery, or what were your main driving factors going into surgery?
So many. My daughter, my mum, my husband at the time. My husband became my carer when my back was really bad. So we kind of have a slightly different relationship to most married couples, because I see him more sometimes as a carer than I do as a husband, and possibly the same way the other way around, because he has cared for me, has chauffeured me around in a wheelchair when I never had my own wheelchair. When I finally upgraded the wheelchair to my own wheels so I could go around myself. But before that was just the old push the wheelchair. So it's just like, I did it for a lot of reasons, but mainly obviously for myself.
Yeah.
Almost myself.
So are you and your husband together or separated? You separated from your husband? Or?
We're together.
You're together,
We're together.
Yeah.
Can't say it's not strange.
Yeah.
Very strange. But part of the process.
It is.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah.
How have you found the whole process with that whole relationship kind of?
He's been very supportive, always supportive, most supportive person you could want in your life. When it comes to being a carer, he's perfect.
Wow.
We find it very hard when it comes to switch to partner, away from carer to partner.
Yeah.
That's very hard. That's always an issue.
Well, it'd be a lot easier on him
Probably
these
always
days.
will be.
Yeah, it'd be a lot easier on him these days because, he doesn't have to care so much because you are a lot more
It's
mobile.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel though that you've got a lot more of your independence back now, because you were just talking about your wheelchair and that he had to push you around and like you were wheelchair bound? Obviously, you still have a fair few issues that you're trying to fix, but do you feel like you have gained like a lot more independence and a lot more obviously mobility because you're not in the wheelchair anymore? But yeah.
Definitely. I have. I've had a lot of surgeries in the first few years, so my process has been very slow to get to any type of fitness, but I have finally gotten to the point where, and I know this is like really stupid to some people, but to me it's like, yay, I can walk 5Ks now. For most people who know me know I've had a hip replacement, and I had that after I had my bariatric surgery. So I was in a wheelchair, on crutches, had my hip replacement, had my gallbladder out, had about, I think, 15 different operations and a hip replacement, and I still managed to lose all my weight without exercise.
Do you have anything left inside you, or have they taken it all out?
She's just a spine with two
Pretty much
legs.
gone. I don't need anything. I'm just running on empty.
Run on empty.
Look, it's given me that the independence to be able to, like I said, for the first time ever, walk 5Ks, probably in my whole life. And I know that Shannon knows how proud I was when I got my first 5K medal.
Well, that's what I was about to talk about because I remember that moment because I had just watched the Iron Cowboy, which is a great movie, and he talked about hards, and it was the first time I'd kind of ever heard about it, and then I went on Instagram and I'd seen you doing your first 5K and how proud you were of your medal, and it really put it into perspective for me and gave me a real appreciation for you at that time. Like you are, I'm very inspired by what you do because the hards, and something I talk about all the time, everyone has their own hard. And this is pretty much what the Iron Cowboy said is, just because you're not the fastest, it doesn't mean you're not mentally stronger than the person that comes first. And that, honestly, I do believe that because I said that the other day with the 50K event. The person that came in 17 hours is probably way more mentally strong than I am because they were out there for a very long time. They really went through way more struggles than I did, but...
They were out there for 3 times longer than what you were.
And that's one thing I always say to people when they're like, oh, but I'm not as fast as you. Like, I don't do this time. And they start talking about times and stuff. I'm like, yeah, but how hard did you try?
Yeah.
Like, take your appreciation for where you're at by how hard you tried. If you know you're doing 120% of what, and you're pushing as hard as you possibly can, take appreciation for that. And that's something with Sandra because it was a perfect timing that when I watched this documentary and then I saw that on Instagram, I had so much pride for you because I could see how proud you were. And I was like, you have every reason in the world to not be out there doing what you're doing, but you're doing it and you're striving. And I think that needs just as much appreciation as the guy that comes first.
But I also think you said as well, though, you said, oh, this will sound stupid to some people. But you can still walk 5Ks. There's people out there who cannot walk 5K still. Like it's their goal to walk 5Ks. And you've got to think as well, like, you know, 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, you were in a wheelchair. You've had 15 operations in the first 2 years coming out from surgery. Like you've had a hip replacement, you've had everything. Like for you to be able to walk 5Ks is probably the equivalent to Shannon being able to run 100.
But it's also like she has more excuses. Like 100%. She has more reasons to have an excuse than anybody, and she doesn't use them.
You actually came into my head the other day because Amy asked me to go out for a run with her, and I was like, no, I don't want to run with you. I'm so much slower than you, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, no, I'll go at your own pace. And I got out there and I had a really, really crappy run. I wasn't running hard, but I also wasn't pushing myself. And I was just kind of like, you popped into my head because I was like, if Sandra can literally run or walk 5Ks after going through everything that she's going through, she did everything to get herself over that finish line. And here I am just like, you know, I was out for a run, but I was bitching and complaining and I wasn't even giving it my all. So you have a lot more guts than me when it comes to that sort of thing, because I'll sit at a comfortable pace and I just won't push myself. So kudos to you for that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gut. I think it is all definitely mind power.
Strong mind.
I push myself through my mind, not my body. My body does not want to work, and my body sends all sorts of pain signals around, but I have to override it with my head or I wouldn't get out of bed.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't.
That's strength there, though.
But it is, and that's like most champions would have that mindset, you know. It's like you don't have to be coming first to be a champion.
Yeah.
You know, if you're pushing that, your mind, which a lot of people don't, that it likes to find the path of least resistance and like, you know, the easy way. And if you can push that, you know, especially in Sandra's case, like, you know, like for example, like let's talk through your first year, because obviously, you know, we have kind of said it wasn't the easiest year for you. I think that'll give people a real perspective on, you know, how strong your mind actually is.
You were wheelchair bound in the honeymoon period. Like that's insane.
Yeah. So I've got a list just because I forget, but I did have my bypass in May of 2016, and then in September of 2016 I had my gallbladder out, and in between that time I had 5 balloon dilations because I had stitches, which are where the little where they make the little hole that joins your new stomach that closes up, and then you can't swallow food or water.
Wow.
So is that off the side? So like, sorry, just with the bypass, obviously, I'm just trying to understand that. So they have the little pouch they make at the top, and then they bypass off that. So you're saying that little bypass off the pouch?
Yeah, the join from your esophagus to your pouch.
Oh, the top end.
Yeah, that kept closing up. So
is that common?
It is common, but usually it only happens once. And I had it twice in a month, and then again and again and again. It just continued, and I think I had 5 of them in the first year. Then in December, I had to have a hysterectomy, and that was all in the same year. The following year, I had my hip scope, where they cleaned out my hip, and then they said, no chance of saving it. Waited 3 months till that was healed. Then I had my full hip replacement in October of 2017. And then, 2018, February, I had my hip replacement. And then I had all my skin removal in between as well. So it's been all over the place.
I was about to say, you've had so many surgeries. For the age that you are, you've had so many surgeries. I was like, you'd never want to do it again. But then you willingly went back under the knife to have your plastics done. Like, you'd think that you'd just be like, I'm done with getting into these bloody hospital gowns. Like, I'm done.
Oh, I was done. But it was just annoying to me. It was something that I just needed to remove. It was just mentally destroying me. And I just couldn't live with it.
Speaking of plastics, what have you done in the way of plastics?
I've had a full lower body lift. So in the first operation, I had a full lower body lift. I had a breast lift, and I had both my arms done. That was in one 10-hour surgery. And then
10 hours?
10 hours. I couldn't believe it. And then in the next surgery, the following year, I had my thighs done, but that was kind of unsuccessful, and I really need to go back and do a revision for that, which I did go in and have a revision under local anaesthetic because I've lost my insurance now. I've ended my insurance. So I had a little bit of lipo, and I don't know, it's up on my page.
Yes, I
There's
remember
some
this.
videos there. They're pretty gross.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quite painful, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, I was going to say, when you were talking about that, you did a plastics under local. I was like, what?
And you filmed it all, didn't you? Like you little...
I love gore.
Oh.
Okay, so I had to film it. I wanted to be the one to pop it open. I asked him if I could stitch it up, all the rest of it. That's just me. I'm just one of those people. I can watch gore all day.
Wow.
So, although when I was younger, I wanted to be a vet nurse, and I was doing a placement, and I watched a dog have a reconstructive knee surgery, and I blacked out.
So not animals. you do have that soft spot for animals. What was it you had? You feed something off your veranda, and yes, you obviously have that soft spot for animals, but not humans. You're kind of like, cut him open, she'll be right.
You're the complete opposite to me. I get like a drop of blood. Like when I fell over on Blackhall, I swear the only reason why I actually passed out was because I saw my own blood. Like it wasn't because I hit my face on the ground or anything. Like I passed out because I saw my own blood. Like I do not.
Yeah, so it's actually funny you say that because most people can't stand the sight of their own injury but can help other people with their injury.
No, Alita's just a big pansy when it comes to all of it. Man, I can stab my toe. Like I had a black toenail and she's like,
there was that one time that we saw that person get bitten by a dog, and I went into like flight mode, and afterwards Shan was like, how did you do that? Like there was like actual tissue like falling out of their leg, and I was like, adrenaline.
And she was almost like, what happened? I don't remember what happened. I just blacked out as soon as they walked up.
I blacked out, but I was still just doing the motions.
Yeah. So
I live for that. I live for that.
Oh, sicko.
Yeah, that's all right. Everyone has their thing. Everyone has their thing. So
however, I don't recommend thigh surgery to anyone. I think that's probably the hardest.
That's the shit I was about to ask. I was about to say, like, what was the hardest recovery-wise after plastics that you found?
Definitely the thighs. Absolutely, 100%. Because when you stand up, the blood rushes down, and it.
And I guess as well, your thighs are quite large muscles too, so there'd be a lot of contracting and all that sort of stuff. Like I don't know.
It was very painful.
And because the scar.
Yeah,
because the scar's in your crutch, isn't it? The scar's in your crutch of your, like in your bikini, like your crutch of your.
In the bikini line, yeah. In the bikini line, and then down in the inside of your legs. To your knees, yeah.
Glamorous.
Wow. So you definitely think the thigh surgery was the worst out of all of them. I said to somebody the other day, I want to get my calves done because my calves are...
Calves?
Well, funny you say that. I asked about that and he said, well, we don't really do calves because they stretch out too much and they can split. But he did do a little bit of lipo in my front of my calves, but I've still got a lot of meat on the back of my calves. But I do need a revision, and I'd love a revision, but I'm not going back there because it was way too painful, and I've had enough. For my 47 years, that's it for me now.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't agree more. Because you've obviously had to go through your fair share of mental struggles and along this journey. What was it like? What was the starting weight and how much you'd lost?
143 kilos was the starting weight, wasn't it?
143. I got down to 82, so it did lose about 90 odd kilos. But then I have regained a little bit. I've regained I'm floating between 96 and 100 at the moment because I've got a lot of issues with my bypass at the moment. I have some tests that I'm doing on Wednesday to start looking into see why I'm regaining and stuff like that. But I have a suspected hiatus hernia. I also have some esophagus issues, and I also have really bad reflux, which is funny because most people say that bypass fixes reflux, but actually it's the opposite. A bypass can actually cause reflux, and the reason being is because reflux is caused by a lack of stomach bile in your stomach. And because I've just got a pouch, I don't have bile in my pouch anymore. I still have my stomach, but when I go to eat food, it goes into my pouch and through into my small intestine, and my old stomach releases the bile and it meets up and it breaks down in the small intestine there, and then it goes through.
And you also don't have your gallbladder as well, which is also what releases bile.
Also don't have
that. Yeah, so, yeah.
And then I also have issues with twisted bowels and all sorts of issues. So I'm going in for top end, bottom end, and hopefully we can get all this sorted too, so I can start losing weight again.
Can they just chop you open from like sternum to like pubic bone and just fix you all at once? Like, can you?
Look, I've asked Father Christmas. Honestly, I've asked him for a new body every year. It's clearly not real. It's not real.
Have you spoken to Jess in Sydney, because she's had a lot of reflux issues, and I reckon she's topped you with the amount of surgeries that she's had.
We talked to her the other week, and I honestly feel like she knows more about like reflux issues, and like I do want to get her on the podcast purely because she knows more about her body and how it works and stuff, because she's been under the knife so many times. I'm kind of like... She
drew us a picture and I was like, what? That's where that is? And she's like, oh yeah, but mine's not there anymore. I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, we won't give away all hers, because she is someone we definitely want to talk to in the future.
I should, yeah.
Yeah, so you've obviously, like you said, you just regained a bit. That wouldn't have been helped by obviously the situation. You're down in Melbourne. You're quite rural in Melbourne, so you're quite secluded. Do you feel like that's played a bit of a part too?
It's mentally really, it's made me struggle with not using old habits. Sorry. Getting bored, eating when I'm bored because it's boring. Eating when I'm just sitting around because there's nothing to do. Can't go anywhere. The kind of boredom eating comes back into it, or snacking a little bit more than normal. But I have noticed that the most of my reason why I think I'm putting on weight is, yes, I'm drinking more as well, alcohol at night time, I know that, but also bread. I'm eating a lot more bread and dried crackers at night to stem that awful reflux, and, of course, eating at night. And sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, so I eat in the middle of the night, eat a piece of bread just to stem that, and so that's probably not helping to the weight gain.
These habits you're saying are creeping back in. What do you feel was stopping you with these habits earlier on?
It's all about your mind. It really is mind over matter. And with me, I slip back into bad habits very easily. Although I'm very focused when I want to be, I can fall off the wagon very easily and go into that depression when I get a pain flare. And I think people don't understand that when you have chronic pain, it's very easy to go into a depression where you don't want to do anything, you don't want to move, you eat bad things, you just don't even think what you're doing. You just become this zombie that doesn't want to live, doesn't want to function. And that, I think, takes over sometimes, and I try and fight it. I'm pretty good at fighting it, but sometimes it just wins, sometimes it wins and I'm in bed for 4 or 5 days and I just sleep.
Yeah.
I just wake up, eat, sleep, drink, go to bed.
So obviously it must be quite difficult, because we've spoken about, like, obviously the whole process is mental, physical, all that. Like, it's all one big step together. It's not just, one part or the other part. But you've had to overcome your mental demons. You can't be physical a lot of the time because of your pain. And then even if you could be, you've been in lockdown. So, like, it's been one hell of a 2020 for you. Like, what are some of the coping mechanisms that you have been sort of doing to get yourself through this really tough time?
good question. Actually, you sent me one of them. I did try and do a little bit of adult colouring in.
With your left hand?
I figured that I wasn't very very good at that. Probably didn't pass that in kinder. But, you know, going outside, my biggest coping mechanism is animals and the outdoors. So I'm very lucky here to have a multitude of different types of wild parrots, birds, all sorts of things that come, and they hand feed, and you know, I can spend all day out there doing that. Walks in the forest, heaps of wildlife around here. I think I put a video up of a wombat the other day while I was on a walk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it is. It's about finding those distractions, really, isn't it? It's about, we call them habits, we also call them distractions. So it's kind of like, you know.
When I can physically move, when I can physically actually, you know, I'm not in too much pain to do anything, that's my distraction. When I'm in too much pain, it's at home and it's the birds, it's my dog.
Yeah.
Just, you know, relaxing, but being in the company of my animals. Because
so animals are your coping mechanism.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a vet. I got into vet nursing, but then I ended up doing normal nursing. So.
Yeah, because I think it is like, especially during these times where people are put back at home. It's why you see a lot of people on Instagram and different things talking about regain and stuff like that over these times, because, you know, snacking and I'm a victim of that, not a victim of that. I'm definitely a culprit of that. You know, where you get bored and you snack because you're bored. And I think that's something we did a lot in the past, that obviously that's the habit, is one of the first habits to kind of return, where you find yourself eating not because you're hungry, but because, you know, you're bored.
But that was something else that as well, like, where my question was stemming to, like, I do know that my bad habits of snacking and drinking alcohol, like, I'll be the first person to say that I probably drink way too much alcohol for a bariatric patient, but I also can balance it out because I do run, I swim, I played badminton today with my mom, and I did bar. Like, you know, we've got all of these. We can get out, like, get fit, get active, like, because A, my body is able to, and B, we're not in lockdown. So for those people who aren't able or are in lockdown, you those small habits can, like, start creeping back
Emphasizes on it.
But then you can't do the sort of the reciprocal to make sure that you're balancing it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like, I find that because I am drinking, that I can't, like you said, I can't burn that off. But I could stop drinking. But that's a habit that's kind of,
Where's the fun in that?
a coping mechanism. So it's kind of like, I shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like a coping mechanism for my brain and for my body to relax through, I guess.
It almost comes back to, like, my ex used to always say one thing, and it was always choose your hard. And it is almost like that. It's like, you know, do I relax with the drink where I shouldn't be having the drink and I could just be relaxing, or do I relax and, you know, have boredom?
See, what I tend to do first is I'll be like, I really wanted a glass of wine, go for a 5K run first, and then if you really still want that glass of wine when you get back from your 5K run, then that's okay. Because a lot of the time, like, you're just wound up from the day or whatever's happened, that just getting out and going for a walk or a run or taking your mind off the whole day stops you from needing that glass of wine or whatever, or it just at least prolongs it for an hour.
Yeah, well, you've definitely... You're right.
Sorry. I think it's a little bit hard here too, because I'm in the hills, so we don't have footpaths. So it's very undulated they're like, basically our streets are corrugated. They're just gravel, and you'd know by trail walking, it's basically like trail walking.
Yeah.
So it's very, very hard on my body to just go and do a 5K walk. 5K walk is more like a 10K walk to
especially
me,
through trails. No, even through trails.
Well, I was about to say, we'll make a trail runner out of you yet, Sandra. Don't you worry.
I've got some good trails you can come on here.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
The minute the border's open, we'll hold you to that.
Yeah, we'll do a little
come
trail
down
event.
and we'll do some trail events with you.
Yeah. I'll find different good stuff.
You've clearly had like a heck of a journey, and you've learned a lot of lessons throughout this process. What would you say is the biggest lesson you have taken away from this journey?
Mental strength, 100%. Mental strength is going to get you through all of this journey. From the start to finish, you have to make decisions on when you're having it, if you're having it, what you're having. Everything is about mental strength to me because I don't have physical strength.
Yeah.
So to me, that's what's got me through most things is mentally got me through. I've had to really focus on my mental strength and my mental, what's the word? The drive that I have.
Yeah. Mental focus, I guess.
Rather than physical. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is. There's something, a quote I've been adapting lately whenever I usually go into like, you know, an event or something like that, I say, you know, I'm ready to go to war with myself because, you know, it's always going to be a battle between your mind and your body. And I think that can really play into like what you're talking about in this journey, this process. You've got to be willing to go to war with yourself. You've got to be willing to say no to yourself. I think you've got to be willing to, you know, take your mind to places it's never been before and understand it on a level that you've never been to before as well, which is what you're saying, because every day you're having fights with yourself. You're going to war with yourself. And, you know, you can lose a few battles, but at the end of the day, if you win the war with your mind, you're going to win overall. Yeah,
definitely, because I wouldn't have gotten through those first 2 years, or the honeymoon period as they call it, without exercising if it wasn't a mental game to me, because mentally you still have to do the right things, which just proves that it's not all physical. It's not all, I mean, yes, it's good if you can exercise, of course it is, but it's not all just about exercise. It's definitely a mental game.
Well, I guess you are walking proof of that, because for the first little while you physically couldn't exercise and you still managed to lose 60 kilos in the first year. So that just goes to show that it does come down to mental strength and what you put into your body as well.
Yeah, and it's not going to just be snip, 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 and it's home free.
Yeah.
You know, as Sandra's pretty much said, this whole podcast is she's had to, you know, fight for every little here and there, the whole process.
Yeah, God.
And I will for the rest of my life. It's not like everyone says. It is just a tool, and it is just a tool for me too. But I have to use my head more than my body because you're always going to have those aches and pains, and you've just got to, you know, mentally get used to those aches and pains in order to get to where you want to go.
So I guess, obviously, you want to have your hip, so your knee replacement. You want to try and get your bypass issues sorted out. But besides the future surgeries that you want to have done, what are your future goals? What's next for Sandra?
What's next? I'd love to travel pain-free. I need to get another back surgery before that possibly could happen, because I can't sit long enough in pain. I wrote them down, my future goals. I want to get my back surgery first. That's probably, I want to get a spinal stimulator. I don't know if anyone knows what that is. There are a few people in this community that have these implants, but it's like basically a little implant. It goes in your buttocks, and it's like almost like size of a pacemaker, and it gives you electric pulses. So it's like an inbuilt TENS machine.
Wow.
And it helps with nerve pain down your legs and in your back. So it can help me walk with less pain, sit with less pain, etc.
So before you go on to your next goals, though, like, your back injury is incurable, and you need to do something like putting a TENS machine inside your body to help stimulate the nerves. Yeah. Wow.
So that's basically, I can't fix pain I'm in. It will never be 100% gone. This machine may not fix the pain. It may not help at all. It does help with some people. You go through kind of like a process where you have a temporary one implanted first with the put into your spine, and then it's taped onto your back, and then you go away for 5 days and you test it out and you turn up the volume and all the rest of it, and you basically do things that would activate your pain, and then if it helps, they'll put a permanent one in. So it's kind of a pretty much two-stage process. It's a trial version and then the real inbuilt version, if that makes sense.
Wow.
So
Never knew that was a
thing. So there's no guarantees it will get rid of the pain, but that is my next goal.
Yep.
And then I want to get on a bike. I want to get back on a horse. These are all things I want to do.
Yeah.
And I have a bike sitting in the shed. I have a helmet ready for me, and I'm going to try that probably this summer, just a little bit, test it out. It's a mountain bike, so we'll be on the trails. So
I was literally about to be like, I wouldn't recommend trail bike riding because that is
it's
really
not
hard.
Crazy stuff like it's just going to be like, Sandra's version of trails.
Yeah.
And then definitely horse. I want to get back on a horse.
Do you have horses?
I love horses. I don't have horses.
Oh, okay.
I had horses next door to me, but I don't anymore.
Yep.
But there's like a pony horse club just down the road from me, so I really, really, really want to get back on a horse. And I'm not supposed to because of my hip replacement, but I don't really care what the doctor says. If you know me, and a lot of you know me very well, I'm stubborn, and I don't give up. And
that's all right. My
don't tell me I can't do something, because if you do, I'm going to do it anyway.
You're going to do it harder.
My knee surgeon told me when I was 25 years old that I had the worst knee that he'd ever seen in somebody my age, and he was like, "You'll barely be able to walk, let alone run." And then when I started losing the weight, I was like, challenge accepted, which is why, I mean, it's not why I got into running, but now look at me, like I run almost every single day and I'm like, screw you, surgeon.
Yeah, okay. So it's obviously just like, a stubbornness thing. It's just like, don't clean the dishes. All right, Alina?
You can do that.
No, what's reverse psychology? Yeah, I don't even know. But if you could go back, Sandra, and talk to you before surgery, what would you tell her?
Why did you wait so long? Why didn't you just do it years ago? Years and years ago. Why did you wait so long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know why? Because then you wouldn't have been, in the same process at the same time as Alita and I, and, you wouldn't be,
That's right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have met all of you guys.
I do get what you mean, though. Like, it's almost like if you had have done it, I'm the same. Like, if I had done it at, 2021, could I be living the life I'm living now then? Yeah. And having this extra.
Could I have avoided the hip replacement? Could I have avoided the need for another one? Could I have avoided the need for knee replacement? Who knows? Arthritis is rampant in my family, so never this early in life. My mum's first hip replacement was over 65. She's in her 70s now, so I'm the youngest of all the members to ever have a problem, but I mean, I guess that's just because I carried the weight, and unfortunately, it did the damage. So it is what it is. So, but yeah, if I could go back, I'd definitely do it earlier. Yeah.
Well, they say that you can't change the past, but you can definitely sculpt your future, and I think that you're doing a pretty amazing job at sculpting your future. So I think you're on a pretty good path.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I only look back if it helps you to move where you want to go forward, because at the end of the day, you're here. You're doing amazing. You've done incredible. Like, look at you. You're just thriving. Yes, you've had your struggles, but, the struggles are the things that make you stronger in the end. So you, Sandra, my dear, are an incredible, strong woman. I'm very grateful that this journey has allowed me to cross paths with you. And thank you again for coming on this podcast.
I just want to say, you're the most remarkable person, seriously, because, considering everything that you've gone through, You're still so supportive, so caring. Like, you legit, like, at least once a week, you'll send me a message just checking out to make sure that I'm okay. You started up the GoFundMe for Shannon. Like, you have, you've had your trials and your tribulations, but you still have the biggest heart in the world. And I think that speaks volumes for you. So you're amazing.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming on, my lovely Sandra.
It's been absolutely amazing. You've been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on Bari Banter.
Well, yes, that is another episode of Bari Banter in the books. We hope you got a little something from that one.
Head on over to Facebook or Instagram and check us out, or go to baribanter.com where you can watch past episodes, give us feedback, and let us know who you want to hear from next.
We love you all, and as always, please stay beautiful.